Hello BookTube, welcome to a Sideline video. It's nearly the half-year point in 2026. I bet that during June we're probably going to see on BookTube a lot of mid-year freak-out videos. This is not a freak-out, right? I'm very calm. In fact, I would like you to think of an auditor. And of course, I have a finance background, so I do naturally tend to think this way. Imagine an auditor. An auditor gathers up all the data for what's actually happened during the year, comes to some conclusions, and then meets with the company concerned and discusses the implications. And you are going to be treated now as if you were allowed to attend the meeting of the half-year audit of the Heather Reid's channel. And of course, no audit can be complete without statistics, and here we have some. And you'll see in the top left, of course, I've got my annual goal, 15,500 pages. That works out, if I divide that by 12, I get 1,292 pages per month. Now, this is based on previous behavior. I don't pull these figures out of the clear blue sky and insist that I meet these targets. These targets are based on my actual reading in 2024 and 2025. So they're based on some pretty solid performance data, how I normally read, given all the things in my life that might prevent me from reading, the usual stuff. And I took this snapshot on the 31st of May to point out some good things. I mean, some good things are down in the section sort of below the yellow, where you can see I've noted down how many of the books that I've read are books that I own, library books or purchase books, and I had goals, percentage goals. I wanted the books that I owned already to make up 65% of what I was reading, and lo and behold, at this half-year point, we are bang on 65%. So I'm very pleased about that. There are some minor adjustments that I do need to make to what I read that I borrow from the library versus what I purchase within 2026. I did start the year buying a few books and reading them. And so that skewed the figures a bit, but I think that's going to settle down now. You can see the library percentage is 20.4%, and I'm aiming for 25. Haven't got much adjustment to bring that up. So I'm really happy with those statistics. The auditors are really happy. Those statistics are on target, all good. There is one statistic that is a red number up in the top right, and that is left to read this month. I took this snapshot late on the 31st of May, and my page goal for the month, my 1,292 pages per month, I had failed to reach it. I was short by 61 pages. That would mean nothing. Nothing if we were just talking about May. But one of the reasons I wanted to make this half-year review video was because I'm noticing a trend. And let's talk about that trend. I wish I had statistics to show you here, but what I'm seeing is that whereas in 2024 and 2025, at the end of each month, I would not only reach my reading target, but I would usually have somewhat exceeded it. And particularly in 2025, when I was making goals based on pages read, I would usually end a month a few hundred pages ahead of myself. That is, I had a surplus that I could, to carry into the next month. What I noticed starting in December 2025 and for every month in 2026 was that I'm getting a regular deficit now. I'm falling behind. Now, 61 was low, and I'll tell you why it was low. It has been higher in previous months. It has been 100, 200 pages plus sometimes that I've not got to by the end of the month. And that's been a trend throughout the first half of 2026. The reason it's a little lower in May, it's still a deficit, but it's lower, was because I took special measures to get that figure down. And if I could have shown you a snapshot of my reading spreadsheet back the week before the month ended, so 7 days before the 31st of May, I was looking at a deficit of nearly 600 pages. And I remember sitting there and thinking, what's going on? I just cannot keep up with the rate of reading that I was doing in 2025. So immediately my auditor mind thinks, okay, what's changed? what's changed in my life? Have I moved house? Have I become ill? Has the person who watches television become ill? Am I having to work an additional job to the one I'm already working? Have I taken on some volunteer work, or have I started a different hobby that has nothing to do with BookTube? And the answers to all these questions were no. And as far as I could see, in terms of just everyday life, it felt to me as though everything were going pretty much as the way it had in 2025 and the way it had in 2024. And I thought, well, this is odd. This is odd because in terms of life circumstance, I can't point to something and go, that is why I'm just not reading as much as I used to do. And if that had been the case, if I had been able to find a reason why I wasn't reading as much, I would have been kinder to myself. I would have said, okay, let's adjust these targets, because there's no point having an unrealistic target. It just gets discouraging. But back to that last week in May, what did I do? I decided we would have to do something quite drastic, and I decided to leave out scripting, filming, and editing a video midweek. So normally you get 2 videos from me. You get a weekend one, you get a midweek one. I decided, no, we will not do a midweek one. What we will do midweek instead is we are going to switch off all our distracting IT devices, because we are reading paper books, and we are going to spend every evening, once we've finished work and we've made dinner and that's all done, that's it. We're going to pick up our books and we're going to I've spent Monday evening, Tuesday evening, Wednesday evening, part of Thursday evening, just reading the books that I was already in the middle of, to try and move through them. And that helped, because clearly I got down to just 61 pages. So I read over 500 pages in those few days. So I really did put in an exceptional amount of effort. It meant that also probably some of you noticed that I wasn't as responsive to comments during that week as I normally am. A lot of you were commenting on the Middlemarch meditation, and that was great. And also poor Meg, she was sending me some messages in the comments and also on our little chat room. And again, I was completely phone switched off. I did not want to be distracted. I thought, I've set myself a goal to try and bring this deficit down. I'm going to do it. And so I focused on that. There were some other things as well that happened that week, but they weren't particularly time consuming. So I still had a fair bit of reading time, and that was what brought things down. But it did make me think, okay. Is the difference here, is the reason that I'm finding that I'm not getting as much reading accomplished, has it got something to do with the channel and how the channel maybe has been for the last 5-6 months, say since the beginning of December 2025? So I went back and looked at my studio page and looked at all my content, the content that I'd done from the 1st of December 2025 until now, and everything before, the 11 months of 2025 before that. And I did notice a difference. I noticed 2 things that were different. First of all, my videos in the last 6 months have been in general longer than average. That is, I had more videos in the first 11 months of 2025 that were less than 20 minutes long. That's certainly, whereas I noticed I have a lot more videos in 2026 that are over 20, 25, over 30 minutes long. So that's interesting. It means that what I'm scripting is getting longer. Therefore, what I'm filming also is a bit longer, and editing, it all ties in together. Also, in the 6 months from December 2025 till now, fewer tags. Used to do a tag, you could pretty much guarantee it once a month. For the first 11 months of 2025, was doing those at least once a month, sometimes twice. Now, I did do some tags in December, but then I think there was a bit of a lull, and I really didn't do any. I think I did one this last month, as it happens. So fewer tags, meaning that the material, because tags are a little easier to script, a little easier to film, etc. And so there is that. But going back to the content that I was doing, that I have been doing over the last 6 months, it has been, I think, more analytical, and therefore needing more research. And if I were to use, for example, the last Middlemarch meditation that came out over the weekend, if I was to talk about the time I spent doing that, I would say, and let me refer to my notes here, I recorded that it took me about 5 hours to research and write the script. Okay, that's 5 hours, then another hour and a bit, 5-10 minutes to film it. And then to edit it, I recorded that it took me about another 3.5 hours. So we're looking at over 10 hours of time needed to produce the Middlemarch meditation video that you saw last Sunday. Okay, so now my auditor is happy because the auditor part of me can see this is where the time is being spent. There are more in-depth videos. There are videos that are talking about concepts more. They need some research. They need careful writing. You can't just point note some of the things. You really do need some attention to detail so that you get facts right. Okay, so back up now. Now I have to ask myself, okay, this is what's really going on. At this halfway point in 2026, is there anything that I'm not enjoying doing? And the truth is, no, there is not. I can say truthfully that I really, really love doing that extra research. I really love the videos where I am chewing up ideas and digesting them and then presenting them on camera. Yes, I love that. That, to me, that goes back to my initial purpose for creating the BookTube channel. Created Heather Reads because I was finishing a university degree where that's what I had to do. Professors would give you an assignment. They'd say, read this book, and then I want you to consider the following question. Or we might have a choice of questions. You pick one, but you've got to produce 2,000 to 2,500 words telling me an answer to this question, whatever it was. And I adored that. I adored what it made me do. I adored the way it made me think. I adored the way it made me question myself and go, well, okay, answer this question. This person is saying, discuss this. Do you think this is true, false? Can you present both sides of the question? Could you show how it may be both? But you need to use the text to prove it. And you need to come up with details. You can't just make some vague pronouncement of, yeah, I think it was like this. And I loved that work. And I thought, what am I going to do when I finish the degree? I'm still going to read books, but I'm never going to read them in the same way. And I'm going to want some vehicle that allows me to still think and question and ask questions about the books I've read, and then get that information together in a written form, and then have somebody to present it to, because I thought I need an audience. It doesn't need to be big. Doesn't need to be big. Just needs to be interested. That's all. I was happy. I thought if 2 or 3 people are interested in this, fine, I will make it. I will make the stuff, because when I was doing the university work, only one person was my audience, and I was totally cool with that. So, how many more people do I actually need? So the truth is, I love that. I love that a lot. The other thing I think I've noticed in the last few months is that I love tags less than I used to. And I don't really know why that is. I'm thinking, my feeling, because I'm still being tagged and I'm still going and watching those tag videos and I'm looking at the questions and thinking, oh, do I want to do this tag? And I'm just not finding the excitement there. Partly I'm thinking that when I'm reading the questions now, I feel that I'm getting the same questions again that I've already dealt with. And I don't know, I'm not excited about answering the same questions again, presuming I answered them correctly in the first place, because you know what a rebel I am. I sometimes just ignore the question and go, I'm going to be answering a different question. But it feels like I'm covering old ground with tags. And Meg, I know she's been wanting to work with me on coming up with new tag ideas. And we did have a flurry, a good sort of period there where we were coming up with new tags. Now I just feel like I've reached a point where it's like the tap isn't giving water anymore. I just looking at it going, no, I'm just, nothing is springing out of my mind. And when I'm looking at other people's tags, there's no energy coming out of me that used to come out. I'd see a tag and I go, oh, really want to do that, really want to answer those questions. I'm just not finding that happening. Hasn't been happening in 2026 very much at all. So I think, okay, so we're not wild about tags at the moment. Okay, that might come back. Who knows? I'm not really worried about it because, again, a tag is just, it was a bit of fun. It used to provide me with a little bit of filler, would buy me some time because they didn't take as long to produce. Okay, so I don't have that filler anymore. So I've got to think, all right, I still want to do very analytical content that takes a long time to write, to film, and to edit. At the same time, I don't really have any feelings about doing lighter content that doesn't need so much time. So how am I going to still go ahead and read the amount of books that I want? Because I don't want to change my page goal right now. I don't think it's an unrealistic page goal, but I do think I need to give myself some chance to do that reading during the month, some way to make some time that currently isn't there for reading. It's being used for something else. And so a quick calculation tells me, okay, if I read 4 books a month, and that does seem to be the average, I'm not counting books, but as it happens, I do keep track of how many books I read per month, and it's looking to be about 4. And I like that. So I'm thinking, okay, probably if things carry on as they will, I will read 4 books every month and I'll want to review those books. Fine. That means 4 videos, okay? And then I like to do at least 2 episodes of Middlemarch Meditation. I really don't want to bring that down to 1 because yes, this is a long-term goal and I'm in it for the whole, but I don't want the whole to go on just forever and ever and ever. I think at the rate that I'm going, it will take me 5 years to get through Middlemarch. I think that's enough. You know, I think that's enough. I don't want to prolong it by cutting down what I do. So 4 books, 2 Middlemarch meditation episodes, that comes to 6 videos that need to be made every month. Now, what I have been doing currently is 8. So what I'm going to do is a slight adjustment. I'm going to try it for the rest of 2026 just to see how does it fit? How does it feel? Does it improve things? We're going to reduce the number of videos that we make per month from 8 to 6. Simple as. So in other words, we don't make filler videos to help ourselves through. We just leave that time, and that time now, instead of being used to write a script, to film, to edit, I'm going to read. I'm going to read. So that's the result of my audit. Slight adjustment to what I'm doing, but you're going to get the same serious content. I'm just cutting back on videos where either I probably can't get the script together and read enough books to have. Do you see what's happening? I'm going to run out of material to provide those 8 videos if I don't actually have the time to read the books too. So I'm going to put the emphasis on reading, because I mean, what else is this? I named the channel. Everything about the way I operate says the important thing here is reading the books, and it is. That is the bedrock thing. And I have some great books that I'm going to review in June, by the way. I am going to talk to you about a biography of a particular king of England who was considered both the greatest and the most terrible, but that just depends on which person you ask. Also, I read a horror novel. Honest to goodness, I put myself through it, and it was actually a really great experience. I'm going to talk about that. And I read a book which is a very fair journalist's analysis of what South Africa has been like since the presidency of Nelson Mandela. And finally, I read a multiple viewpoint novel which tried its hand at a bit of literary pastiche, and I found that interesting. So that's what you've got to look forward to this month in terms of videos. And of course, in Middlemarch, really now, Mr. and Mrs. Casalbin have come back from honeymoon. I mean, you might object to the word honeymoon, given what it was. Maybe we should just say their long trip to Rome. And chapter 27 ended with Dr. Lidgett being called to Lowick Manor. Dun, 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 dun. That can only mean something dramatic is about to happen. So that's what we're going to cover in June for Middlemarch. I'm really looking forward to it. I think that's going to work for me really well. But of course, at the end of the year, we'll review things again and see if anything has changed and I want to make any other adjustments. But I thought I'd let you know so that you didn't wonder, why is it that we're still seeing videos at the weekends, but sometimes midweek it's a bit quiet. You know, what's going on? Now you know what's going on. Giving myself some reading space. What could be better? And I hope your reading is going to go well in June. Also, however you organize that. And I look forward to seeing you guys again at the weekend. Okay. Take care in the meantime. Bye-bye.